back to another episode of the Modern Malayali podcast. This is the space where we talk about what it really means to grow up Malayali, especially when you grow up outside of Kerala, in between cultures, languages, and expectations. Today's episode is all about Malayalam, our mother tongue. It's the language that we understand, it's the language that we love and that we feel connected to. But it's also the language that some of us often struggle to speak. Today, I have a wonderful guest with me here today, Thomas. Do you want to say hi, Thomas?
Hey everyone, how you doing? Thank you for having me, Ria.
Of course, of course. I'm really excited to be speaking about this with you. Um, so yeah, I think let's get into it.
Let's do this.
I'm gonna ask you straight up, can you speak Malayalam? And if you can, how well can you speak?
So I will not lie. I would never say my Malayalam is perfect. I think my friends would probably laugh at me or kill me if I did say that. I would say it's a lot better than it used to be. It is I can kind of get away with some things. I think I only started speaking Malayalam when I was about 16. Till then I spoke English. I understood Malayalam perfectly. I grew up with Appa and Amma speaking to me in Malayalam, and then I returned the conversation in English. And because they were so good at English, I didn't have to worry about
Mm,
speaking in Malayalam.
yeah.
I think only when I was 16 did I start making an effort. I think it felt like a right time to for me to want to do it, and it came innately. I didn't No one was forcing me to do it, and I just felt I would be a bit more connected to my parents, India, Kerala, and just the community around me. So yeah, that's why I
Mm.
started trying to speak better.
Mm. I feel like a lot of us have very similar story as well, where our parents speak to us in Malayalam, but we speak in English back to them, and there's actually no need for us to respond back.
Hmm.
In my case, my grandparents could also, like one set of grandparents could also speak English. So I felt there was no need for me to learn
Yeah.
how to speak. Why did you put in that effort? Because you said nobody forced you to learn. Why is it important to you to know the language?
Hmm. I think first of all, yeah, I totally agree with you. I think first my initial reasoning of not learning is like I don't need to. I had my
Mm.
grandparents would speak perfect English to me, and I'd be like, why do I need to do this? And I think it was one conversation that I had with my cousin, where they were telling me about just how our parents always do these things to try connect with us. And one way we can connect back to them was if we speak Malayalam to them, because that's the language which they grew up in, they're the most
Mm.
comfortable in, and I think that was the turning point where I felt like, okay, I need to learn Malayalam.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the main like contributing factors that made me want to speak. And then I think the second thing was when I went to university, there was a lot of Malayalis, second generation Malayalis like me who spoke Malayalam so fluently, and I think I was just amazed at how good they are. Like their tongues
Mm.
would switch. Like one moment they're speaking like a proper Brit, and they have like the proper accent, and it's like wow. And then next thing you know, it's like a swap, a proper swap. Another tongue has come, and they're speaking Malayalam like they were born and brought up there, and they live there, and they
Yeah.
live and breathe Kerala. I think
Mm.
seeing that was just so inspiring, and so like I want that. I want to be able to do that. I think
Mm.
I think it was like a mission there where I want to be able to do that because that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. I feel like it is important for all of us Malayalis to at least think about, do we want to learn or not learn? If you don't want to learn, that's completely fine. But
Yeah,
if you want to learn, I think, it's never too late to learn. Doesn't matter how old you are, it's never too late. Yeah.
100%.
So do you feel like, were you not able to connect with your parents in English then? Did you feel like that language was a bit of a barrier?
I think we were able to connect. My parents' English is really, really good, which
Yeah.
by the way, I want to say just how amazing it is that our parents are able to be so good at Malayalam and so good at English. That is just
Mm.
one thing which yeah, I'm just so amazed by them. But I think there's like those inside jokes, or they might say something in Malayalam, or they might say something in English that would be a literal translation from Malayalam, which it wouldn't hit in English. And I think just once I started speaking to them more in Malayalam, there was a little bit more excitement.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of me being like, "Hey, I'm part of your world. I want to be part of your world, and let's chat." So yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of worked well that way.
That's actually really sweet of you. So, how did you learn speaking?
I think the first thing was just I just went up to Appa and Amma one day, like, I'm going to start speaking to you in Malayalam, and you're going to speak back to me in Malayalam. If I speak back to you in English, you can't say anything for like a couple of days. It worked for like 1 or 2 days, and then I just couldn't do it, and then I was like, okay, I take it back. But I think that helped. I also have another cousin in India who was very like patient with me, and if I'd say paksha the wrong way, she'd be like, no, it's not pashi, it's paksha. And or I probably butchered it now. um, but that did help as well. I think I was very fortunate to be able to go to India every December. So just the fact that I'm speaking to everyone in Kerala, and I try to speak to them in Malayalam, it helped.
Mm,
I think the second thing that really helped was actually when I moved to university and I joined like the Malayali society here. There was a
mm,
lot of people who spoke Malayalam really, really well. And
mm,
so they only conversed with each other. And so I didn't want to be the odd one out to speak in
mm.
English. And
Yeah,
so then when they were speaking in Malayalam, I would add a few sentences here or there. Once I got a little bit more confident, I'd say a few things. But even now, I'd still probably speak to them maybe 60% in English, 40% in
yeah. That's interesting. When we're meeting other Malayalis and we find out that they speak Malayalam very fluently and then we can't really speak, sometimes I feel like a bit of an outsider because they can all speak this language that I can understand, but I can't contribute to the
Mhm,
conversation.
mhm.
And I know that if they were to speak English to me, their true personalities are not really coming out. They're more comfortable speaking in Malayalam.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm also not comfortable speaking in Malayalam to them. Like I can't be my proper self. My true personality is not going to come out either. So
Mhm.
I wonder, how do you feel about that? Do you feel any less
I
Malayali?
think I think that's a really good point you made where I definitely sound a lot less confident and a lot more soft-spoken when I speak Malayalam. I'm
Mm,
thinking about what I'm trying to say before I'm saying things.
exactly.
Whereas
Yeah.
like while we're having this conversation in English right now, I'm just going. We just like it
Yeah.
just flows. So you're right, and you're right. There's some people who work a lot better when they're speaking in Malayalam. The feeling of feeling slightly less Malayali is there, because, well, yeah, if there's someone else who is in a similar situation as you, like grown up outside of Kerala, and they can speak Malayalam so well, especially here in the UK, some of these people have like two tongues. It's like they switch from their
Yeah.
British accent to this like perfect Pakka Malayali, like Nadan
Yeah.
accent, and you're like, what? This is not fair. This is like cheating. This is actual cheating.
Yeah.
Um, I think I think it's one of those things where when those same people are very understanding and very kind that you're trying,
Mm,
it's very like it feels really good that you're not having to like perform.
yeah.
When you have people who, yes, they can speak really well, but they accept you for whether you can speak Malayalam really well, whether you have no idea how to say like the ABCs of Malayalam. If you have those like really supportive people, that helps. But
Mm,
yeah, that feeling is definitely there, and I do still even now feel that when I'm in India.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you ever feel embarrassed or scared to speak Malayalam because you might say it wrong? And
Oh
does
yeah.
that depend on who you're speaking to?
Oh yeah, so I think if so, I only recently started trying to speak in Malayalam to people outside in Kerala, like if we go to the shops or if someone comes to like sort something out in the house, and I'd try to speak to them in Malayalam.
Oh, and
I
they can
was
understand you?
Oh, yeah, I guess I'm sure they suffer going like hearing me break their language that they love so much, but there are certain people you can tell like from their faces when you start speaking, they're like, "Oh, you're an NRI."
Yeah.
When I see that like reaction, that's when uh I'll probably back out and go back to English because I'm a lot more comfortable. Or if
Mm.
if I mess up really badly and I can see like a smile on their face. I think recently when I was in India, I was trying to say Aarapazham, and like my tongue twisted so badly 2, 3 times, and they just looked at me and I was like, right. I would like 6 bananas. Like admitting defeat and saying I would like 6 bananas. So yeah, it varies. Like I think it's also a confidence thing. If I feel a lot more confident on the day or feeling a lot more happier on the day, I'll give it a go. And
Yeah.
depending on their reaction. I think the worst thing is if someone if you start speaking to someone in Malayalam, you know they're like they're better at speaking Malayalam than they're at English, but they return the conversation in English. That is the most
Mm.
demoralizing thing. I don't know if you felt that.
I have felt that, but I always thought it's because they want to make me feel comfortable, and so they would speak English.
I do see that. I do see where you're coming from, and I know a lot of people have said that, but I think it's just if you're someone who's trying to speak Malayalam, when someone speaks back to you in English, it kind of like it feels like a rejection. At least for me, it
Mm.
feels like someone's
Yeah.
like, "Nope, you're not good enough. We're gonna speak in English."
Yeah. What do you
So,
think has been the hardest part about learning or trying to speak? Especially, okay, so you started speaking when you were 16 and you
yeah.
weren't a child when you started learning. So what do you think
Mhm.
was the hardest part about trying to speak and learn?
I think it's hmm. Let me think about that.
I think for me, it's I can't speak
Mm.
Malayalam, but for me, I think I feel a bit embarrassed that I'm an adult now and I still can't speak our mother tongue.
Yeah,
And I still feel very self-conscious and shy to speak.
yeah.
And I think there's just like this mental block for me that I really struggle when I try to speak.
I definitely think yes, when the older you get, the more you feel like you're not going to do it, or you're a bit more shy.
Yeah.
I also think the older you get, you also start having so many things to do, and you're like, this is not the top priority that I need to be
Mm,
focusing on. I get along quite well in English. Um,
exactly.
I think
Yeah.
while you're learning, the hardest part is getting over the fact that you don't have to really do this. I don't think if you can't speak Malayalam, I'm not going to say you're not a Malayali or you're not less of a Malayali. Like I think everyone has their own way of connecting to Kerala and their roots. And language is one of the ways that I did it, but there's so many other ways. I know a lot of friends who don't speak a single word of Malayalam, and yet, if you ask them about all the movies, from like
Mm,
all the old movies to like what's going out now, they know everything. They know every actor, actress, their side story, backstory, everything. Um,
yeah.
that doesn't mean they're less Malayali. But yeah, so I think the hardest part is just when you getting that momentum and you finding reasons to continue because there's a lot of reasons why you don't have to do this.
Yeah, true. Very true. What's something fun or unexpected that you noticed now that you can speak or when you were trying to speak?
I think once you get to a certain level of being able to speak, people get excited to talk to you, which
Yeah.
I'm sure is a little bit demoralizing for anyone hearing who doesn't speak Malayalam. Like you don't get appreciated at first, and then at one moment it's just like bang, oh nice, this person speaks to us. Um,
Mm,
I think especially people in India accept you a lot more if you can speak the language at like a decent level because then they
mm,
feel comfortable to have a conversation with you. I think the biggest thing is once I was able to start being a little bit sarcastic or
mm,
make a joke or two in Malayalam, that's when people are like, "Oh, damn, okay, this guy can speak Malayalam really well." And yeah, no, everyone started questioning me, like, "Who taught you this Malayalam? Why did you learn this? Like, how did you go to the UK and start learning Malayalam? This
yeah.
something doesn't add up. It's probably a girl."
Like was
But
the girl influencing you to
it
learn?
wasn't it wasn't a girl. It was all my friends from the Malayali society, like speaking to all of them and being able
Yeah.
to converse with them on a daily basis. I think that's
Yeah.
the hardest part. If you can do it on a daily basis or put yourself in situations where you can speak in Malayalam or you have to speak in Malayalam, that's when you
Mm.
probably become a little bit better.
Yeah. I think one of the most rewarding things I would say of, knowing how to speak, this is not coming from my personal experience, but I just think that if you can speak Malayalam, I think it's so rewarding being able to connect with the elders in your family, whether that's your
Mm,
parents or your grandparents. I think
mhm.
grandparents especially, because they are often the ones who are not so comfortable speaking English back.
Yeah.
And I've seen that with my like second cousins who are not so comfortable speaking Malayalam and their grandparents can't really speak English back to them. But I
Mhm.
can see how that becomes a barrier in their relationship.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful that my grandparents can speak English back to me. But if I could have spoken Malayalam, maybe I could have connected more with my other set of grandparents, my dad's parents as well,
Yeah.
and the other elders, like great aunts, great uncles, and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, I think it's just a, like, again, just as how we're uncomfortable speaking Malayalam, they're probably
Yeah,
just as uncomfortable speaking English. But
exactly.
and it's really sad. You're right, because there's so much love, and like a lot of our grandparents are just like pockets of love that want to
Exactly. Oh
give
my
and
God.
give, but they just can't do it as much as authentically as they can. And so yes, I was very unfortunate that I started speaking Malayalam a bit closer to after my grandparents passed, but I think my grandparents' siblings, like
Mm.
it's nice to be able to have a little bit of banter with them, or talk to
Yeah.
my dad and or my mom's cousins in Malayalam, and like I think there's a little bit of an ego boost when they're like, "Oh, this guy can speak pretty well." Like when they say it in Malayalam, and they're like, "Oh, for someone who's never lived here, you can speak pretty well." Um, it's nice to hear that, and that will definitely make me want to speak more.
This episode is probably going to get me into a lot of trouble because my mom has been on my case for a really long time now about me not speaking Malayalam.
Mhm,
And it's gotten a lot worse after I got married because my in-laws, they are more comfortable speaking in Malayalam to me and obviously to my husband as well.
mhm.
But for me, they put in a lot of effort into speaking English, and even gotten to the point where they've learned how to say the Our Father and the Hail Mary and all those
Wow.
prayers in English, just so that I can be involved and not feel left out in the prayers and whatnot.
I can imagine the guilt there.
When my mom sees all of this, she's like, "Why are you not learning how to speak? Like, why can't you just take the initiative and also put in some effort and like meet them halfway? They would appreciate it so much if you could speak as well."
I I hear what you're saying, and I think I just want to also make it clear, like, yes, it's very true. If we were able to speak Malayalam and speak it fluently, we would be able to connect with a lot of people. But I think it's also worth mentioning in this episode that that is a huge time commitment. It's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah,
And I think, like, for anyone who feels guilty for not being able to do it, or anyone who feels stressed that they're not able to speak Malayalam, it should be like, hey, don't worry. I think you are doing your best. You're trying to speak as much as you can. You're connecting to these people, and there are other ways of connecting with, like your, like you said, your in-laws. I'm sure there's activities that you do, or
mm,
like Onam, like preparing for Onam, whether it's like doing a pookalam or watching a movie with them, or
yeah,
something like. I'm sure you put in so much effort to try show them how much you do care about them. And yes, the language
yeah,
barrier might be a slight issue, but you there's so many other things that you guys connect on.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it's worthwhile for us trying to, because this is going to be so interesting to see when we eventually start having kids and we have the next generation.
Mhm.
Do you think we will be trying to get our kids to speak Malayalam? And do you think it's worth investing time and effort into getting them to speak?
Mhm. I think that depends on each person's perspective and how close they are and how much they want to stay stay connected to Kerala. I know a lot of people who are in my generation who don't speak a single word of Malayalam, and I think it depends on whether their parents are even comfortable enough to be able to converse with them. So, like, I'm speaking because I want to connect with my parents, my grandparents, or other extended family. Whereas our kids would probably not have to worry about that because we speak fluent English. But I think
Yeah,
personally, I would definitely want to preserve the language. It's such a beautiful language, and there's so many
exactly.
nuances to it, and so many different
Exactly.
ways of like expressing things that English could
Yeah.
never replicate. And I think just for that one reason, I think I see myself being that dad who would take their child to Malayalam class, potentially even sit in the same class with them if I'm allowed to to learn
Yeah.
Malayalam for the first time properly. Uh,
Yeah.
I personally think it's worth it. I think it's such a beautiful language that it should be preserved. But again, it's going to be personal preference. It's going to be varied. But I do think, unfortunately, I think a lot of people wouldn't need to speak Malayalam, so I can see that it would probably I'm probably in a minority here.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that I've thought about a lot. And I think for all the people who are listening as well, like the next generation, how are we going to preserve our language? Because if we're not confident speaking, how are we going to pass this on? And what I kind of think about or worry about is the language going to end up dying with me? Because I know my brother also can't speak. So potentially the language is going to die with us. My husband can speak quite fluently. So it's kind of on him to make sure our kids can speak quite well and that they can understand. But I don't know. For me, I think it's important that they should learn. Even if their grandparents can speak in English, even if their parents can speak in English, even if they probably never have to speak the language ever.
Mhm.
I think it's important that they know their mother tongue, but it's gonna be tough. I don't know how we're gonna do it.
First of all, I'm going to say no pressure to your husband. Just keeping a whole language alive. Um, I yeah, I see what you're saying. I think if a lot of other communities are able to keep their mother tongue, I like if you think about Spanish communities, I don't think anyone's worried about um, losing Spanish. Yes, it's a more
Yeah.
popular language than Malayalam, but even if we go look at India, I think Hindi as well. A lot of people who speak Hindi, Gujarati, Punjabi. I'm not sure how
Mm.
much they're worried about losing the language, and that's because a lot of the parents do make a lot of effort. And so why
Mm.
can't it be the same for Malayalam?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you think our parents do you think our parents should have done more to teach us Malayalam when we were younger? Or do you think they did the best that they could?
Oof, that is a very loaded question. I don't think if whatever way I answer this question, I'm going to uh, please everyone. I'll try not to be diplomatic. I will try to have an opinion here without
Yeah.
getting myself in trouble. I
Yeah.
think, first of all, a lot of people forget just how amazing of a job our parents did to, first of all, go live in another country that is so alien to them. And you have to remember, this is a time when there was no WhatsApp, there was no internet to be able to connect and call back home. It was yours there. You have to sort yourself out, and you're gonna have to be able to interact and socialize and get along well with these people who are so different from you. Language being
Mm.
one of the things. They had probably a lot of things they had to worry about that we didn't have to worry about in terms of settling in this country. So I don't think I would ever blame my parents for not trying to get me to speak Malayalam. I know they tried. They've also done the exact same thing that I said. Oh, I'm only going to speak to you in Malayalam. It's not my idea.
Mm.
They've been telling me to do this since I was like 4 or 5, and I was just like the spoiled kid who was like, nope, I don't want to. Uh, I don't think it's fair to like criticize what they've done. I'm just very grateful that because of what they have done, I'm so connected to like Kerala, Malu
Yeah.
culture. I think it's just important that I probably take that forward, and maybe I will definitely have to put more of an effort to do things because I guess our parents had to make sure that we are comfortable and adjusted in this new country, whereas I think our jobs would be a bit more different, where we would be settled in a country, but the tricky part would be how would we build our communities, how would we preserve our culture, and what all
Yeah.
ways we can do it. Because it's very easy to, and I know many people who don't do this, and it's so easy and so convenient if you don't do anything and you just adjust and become a Roman in Rome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I like what you said. I think we are, even though we've been brought up outside of India, we are still so connected to our culture. And our
Mhm.
parents have done, not just our parents, our extended families as well, have done a really good job of making sure that all of us, next generation kids or young adults or whatever,
Mhm.
that we can still identify as Malayali and that we are proud to call ourselves Malayali.
Yeah.
And language is just a small part of it. So in our generation, I feel like some of us have had to make that effort to speak Malayalam in order to feel closer to our roots, to feel
Hmm.
closer to our parents, grandparents, etc. But for the previous generation, it was kind of the opposite. Like for our parents who've moved out of India and have settled in a completely new country, they've had to rewire and relearn a lot of things like, learning a new culture, learning new
Yeah.
behavior, cultural norms, making new friends, and trying to belong in a completely new community. And a lot of times we do feel that our parents tend to stick to the Malayalis in that
Yes.
area, wherever they are. And do you feel that was the same for you? Like, did your parents just stick to the Malayali community there, or were they open to integrate to other cultures and learn
Mhm.
about other people as well?
I think I would probably say my parents were the latter. Like Appa and Amma lived in Botswana, and for those of you who don't know, Botswana has a bunch of Malayalis. Like our Onam Sadhya goes to like 1,000 to 2,000 people having Onam Sadhya.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
so like if you can find 1,000 to 2,000 people who can speak Malayalam to you, why not? And I can see
Yeah.
why when they were like you mentioned in and when you were asking this question that there were so many things you'd have to adjust to, and there are so many situations where I'm sure they would have felt ostracized or an outsider or alien to what what the country they were living in was. The
Mm.
thing that you can hold on to is people like themselves, where they can talk about something that's happening in Kerala, or they can like relate to each other about the difficulty of moving and adjusting to this new country that they are living in compared to how it was back home. I'm
Mm.
sure a lot of them would be like, "Why are we doing this?" Well, it was much more easier and comfortable in Kerala.
Mm.
Um, but I definitely think there should not be any blame. And yeah, I felt that where there was this duality in my friendships where during school time I would be spending a lot of time with my friends and they would be from different places, but my parents never made an effort or wanted to interact with their parents as much, other than like a hi,
Mm.
bye, or let's talk of this. And then during the holidays, I would be spending most of my time with my Malu friends. Like we would have
Mm.
prep for Onam, we'd have another Kerala Samajam event, or there'd be like people going to each other's houses for dinners. And those are all with like the Malayali family friends that you have. And
Yeah.
it does pose a question on like when us who grew up in another country, we didn't have to deal with adjusting to the culture because we grew up in this culture as much as our parents.
Yeah.
Whether we would also be spending all of our time around Malayalis, or would we be spending more time with people who are local to the country that we're living in, and what all norms and traditions would we be taking forward?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. It is, it's very true what you said, because I mean we don't understand what it was like for our parents to move to a whole new country, and sticking to their Malayali community is the comfort that they needed. It was the home away from home.
100%. Like, if you have to remember that these are people who moved before WhatsApp was a thing, and you could just pick up
Mm.
your phone and call someone from home and just talk to them very easily in
Yeah.
whatever language you want to speak. It is a place where if you are going to call home, it's going to be very expensive.
Yeah.
Um, and so you have to either adjust to this new place you're in, or you're going to struggle. So I
Yeah.
totally understand why they found solace in other people just like them. And I think
Yeah.
growing up, when like I personally start feeling being part of a country where I'm definitely seen as an outsider, I'm definitely seen as not someone who's from here. You start to feel the reason why people do this. It's a sense of familiarity. It's a sense of being accepted for who you are, and I
Exactly.
think I think for us it's going to be a very difficult question of are we 100% Malayali? Probably not, because we've been influenced and we've like grown up in other cultures too. So how are we going to choose what is familiar and what is not?
Exactly. Do you think we should feel guilty for not being able to speak fluently? Or do you think speaking Monglish is good enough? Like, speaking a few English words here and there.
I don't think anyone should feel guilty for speaking Monglish. That's for sure. I don't think it's fair to for anyone else to judge someone in terms of how Malu you are. I know one of my best friends can read Malayalam,
Hmm.
and they can take the time, like, and they could probably write one or two words. But if you ask them to speak, they can't because their tongue gets twisted. It's not an easy
Yeah.
language to to speak.
Yeah.
But the fact that this person can read Malayalam is huge. I could not read Malayalam. I don't think
Yeah.
I even want to learn how to read Malayalam.
Your reading Malayalam is a whole other game.
Yeah,
That is
it's
something else.
like one little flick and it's a whole new word.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I feel like I do feel guilty if I end up speaking mostly Monglish,
Mhm.
and then try to pass that as Malayalam. But I think it's also a reflection of our reality, right? Because
Yeah.
we don't live in Kerala, and so it's only natural for us to mix the two languages, our two languages, English and Malayalam, together.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just an adaptation of, what our reality looks like.
Yeah, and we are trying our best. I think that's so important to think about. Like the fact that we're trying to speak English is huge. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
like a funny story I have is I was in uni with one of my best friends. He's Colombian, and I was sorting out something for like a Malayali society event, and I was speaking to this person in Malayalam, and I was like, "Huh, look at me! I'm speaking pretty well," and everything. And then I cheekily went to this friend of mine who was next to me, and was like, did you understand what I was saying? And he was like, yeah, dude, every third word was English. Of course I can understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Yes, you might be thinking you're speaking so well, but you might get humbled from time to time. But it's part of the game. It's part of the game.
Yeah. At work, I have quite a few Malayali colleagues, and there's one colleague in particular who likes to, well, we like to gossip about what's going on
Hmm.
around us, right? And he's very fluent
Yeah,
in Malayalam, so
yeah.
he would tell me what's going on, the office drama in Malayalam, and I
Hmm.
can understand everything that he's saying. Like, understanding is not the problem. But
Yeah.
when I want to try and contribute back, I try to speak Malayalam, and I'm so conscious of the fact that literally every second word is in English. And then I'm like, this defeats the purpose because
Yeah.
I can't be saying English words because then people around me will know what I'm trying to say.
How can I talk
So,
about people behind their back without them knowing if I'm not doing it right?
exactly.
I'm not gonna lie, that's probably also one of the perks of being able to speak Malayalam. Yeah, it doesn't have to be
Yeah,
Malayalam or any other language. You can just chat a lot of nonsense about other people
exactly,
without
exactly.
them knowing. You get in trouble
Yeah.
though if you do it so much and then you go to a Malayalam, like a Malu setting, and then you start speaking to your like gossip friend in Malayalam, and you just realize, oh wait, everyone understands
Yeah.
everything I've just said.
It's actually funny. My mom does that a lot. When we're in South Africa, my mom gossips. Oh, well, she'll talk about stuff in Malayalam because she knows that, the people around us can't understand. But then she's go and does the same thing in Kerala. And I'm like, Mom, you're in Kerala. People can understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that must have created some awkward moments.
Yeah.
Would you ever want to reach that level as well, of like being able to uh, talk to your colleague just as much and be able to like gossip
Oh,
about what's going on?
100%. 100%. I would love to able to, like gossip back. and and to see that he can understand what I'm saying. I think that for me would give me so much satisfaction because
Mhm.
right now when I try to say something, I can see he's trying to, it's like he's trying to put a puzzle together in his brain. He's like, she said this word and then she said that word, and what is she trying to say? Like, but yeah.
That is such a great description of like how I speak Malayalam, where it's like I'm trying to piece this puzzle, a few English words that are converted into Malayalam, some English words that
Yeah,
didn't make it,
exactly.
and then I just hope they can decode this puzzle as well.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for other Malayalis out there, like me, for example, who want to start learning and who are kind of old now and, it's not that easy to just pick up. So what do you have any tips or tricks for people like us?
Oof, first of all, I'm going to just claim this and say I don't know if I'm the best person to give advice, but I will say what my 2 cents, and people can make fun of me afterwards. Uh, I think the biggest thing is finding either whether it's your parents, your cousins, your friends who are really good at speaking Malayalam and who are very supportive of letting you stumble your way and struggle your way through butchering this language just so that you could get better.
Mm,
That is, I think, one big thing is having that person or people who will be there and will not laugh at you or judge you too much. Because I'm sure some things you say will be very funny, and some
mm,
things I've said have been very, very funny. Um, so I think that's number one. I think the second thing probably is the looking at like you can be inspired by other people on on Instagram or on other social networks. I think it's kind of nice nowadays that there's a lot more representation of Malu culture online, and being
Mm,
able to see them. Like, for example, I think Hanuman Kind is a really good example that comes to the top of my
mm,
head. He's a guy
yeah.
who never lived in India. He traveled, like, he went around the world depending on where his dad's job was, and he ended up in the US. And when he raps, you can tell he's an American. He's from Texas.
Mm.
Um, but then I think I saw this interview of him being like promoting this movie called Rifle Club, and he everyone was like, "Oh my God, I thought we were gonna have to speak to him in English," and and he was just like, "Ayo ചേച്ചി ayo ചേട്ടാ ഞാൻ മലയാളി തന്നെയാണ്," and like just him like seeing that other people can do it is
Yeah,
like a lot of motivation for you. So
yeah,
if you're around people, or if you like immerse yourself with seeing other people who can do it, you yourself will want to do this more.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I mean, the last thing is, it's not that deep. I think everyone is struggling with an identity crisis, even if you're from the same country. So
yeah.
just go for it. Just give it a go. You're gonna make a fool out of yourself from time to time, but that's okay.
Yeah, I like what you said. It's not that deep. Just,
Yeah,
just start speaking, and
yeah,
see where it goes.
yeah. No one's going to like crucify you, and if anyone's making fun of you or judging you for not being able to speak Malayalam, that actually just says a lot more about them than it says about you.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I also think immersing yourself in the language also helps, like watching
Mm,
a lot of movies and listening to music as well, and just, paying attention to the lyrics, because
yeah,
for me, that actually kind of helps as well, especially to understand. But I
exactly.
do have to confess,
Yep.
I still need subtitles when I'm watching
That's
movies.
okay. I think some
Yeah.
of the long words and the speed at which sometimes they speak is hard to follow.
Yes, yes. Not
Like
only
it's
that, I've noticed that there's different dialects depending on
mm,
where the person is from in Kerala.
yep.
And there's some dialects that I just don't understand at all.
Yep. I know what you're talking about. Like the like northern Kerala accent is I can't do. But and
Yeah.
Thrissur accents always vibrant and bubbly. The Trandrum and Ernakulam accents are so different. And yeah, there's actually
Yeah.
I think I've seen people have full on arguments on which accent is the better one.
Yeah.
Did I
But
know
yeah.
or the difference of these? No. Only like maybe one or two.
Yeah, me too. All I know is, oh, something doesn't sound right here. That's all I
Yep.
know. But don't ask me where that person in Kerala is from. But
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, that's about it from us. Thank you so much, Thomas, for coming on to the podcast and for sharing your experiences and your perspective.
Absolutely. It was so much fun having this conversation with you. It's nice to hear like someone else being in a similar situation.
So, to those who are listening, I hope that Thomas has inspired you guys. He has definitely inspired me to start learning, and I hope he's inspired you guys as well. And if any of you are struggling with Malayalam, it doesn't make you any less Malayali. The goal isn't to have perfect grammar or flawless pronunciation, it's just being confident enough to attempt to speak our mother tongue. So, if this episode has resonated with you, I'd love to hear your story as well. Please let me know, what's your relationship with Malayalam like? Do you understand it but struggle to speak like me? Have you tried learning it again as an adult, like Thomas? Send us a message. We'd love to know. And yeah, please do share this episode with anyone who grew up just like you did. Please also don't forget to follow the podcast and rate it as well, because it really does help the podcast grow. So yeah, thank you for listening, and bye.